Alright, now the next thing we need to do will be to go ahead and enable the Google Geocoding API. But before I go ahead and explain what the Google Geocoding API does, it just makes a lot of sense that we see the API in action. So I'm going to go ahead and load up the completed project. Alright, so when I tap on search destination, so you can see that the address of our current location has already been retrieved and pre-filled for us. Alright, so what happens here is that as soon as we launch our app, the geolocator package was able to retrieve our current location, that is, the current location coordinates, and we can now go ahead and use it to retrieve the address of our current location. So Geocoding API allows us to easily convert our geographic coordinates into addresses. So to be able to get more information about the Geocoding API, I can easily pull up the documentation. So this is the documentation, this is the URL. I'm sure you should have been able to copy this URL from the lecture preceding this particular lesson. So from the documentation, it reads that geocoding is a process of converting addresses like a street address into geographic coordinates like latitude and longitude, which you can use to place markers on a map or position the map. And reverse geocoding, which is basically what we are going to be doing most of the time, is a process of converting geographic coordinates into human readable addresses. So what this means is that when we pass our longitude and latitude coordinates, it will return a place address for us. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down the documentation so that we can see how to perform the reverse geocoding request. Alright, so this is exactly what we need to do. But before we do this, we first of all need to go to our Google Developers Console to enable Google Geocoding API in our Google Developers project. So I'm very certain that we're already familiar with the Google Developer Console when we set up our map and all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to console.developers.google.com/API. This is our dashboard. So what I'm going to do will be to go ahead and select our project. So our project is G-Taxi, so I'm going to select this. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Library. So I'm going to go ahead and expand all map related APIs. So this is where we are going to find the geocoding API. So this is it. So we need to go ahead and enable it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on enable. Okay, so our geocoding API has successfully been enabled. So you can see it here. Now the next thing we need to do will be to return to our documentation. So we need to go ahead and copy this URL, right? So I'm going to go ahead and paste it inside of our Google Chrome. The last thing we need to do will be to go ahead and append our API key to this URL. So I'm going to go into Android Studio. So I'm going to navigate to our global variables. So this is my map key. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. So I'm going to pull up Google Chrome so I can easily go ahead and append my API key here. So I'm going to run the request. So for us to be able to make use of the Google Geocoding API, we need to enable billing on our project. So I'm going to return back to our Google Developers Console, and I'm going to click on the navigation menu, and I can navigate to billing. So I'm going to go ahead and link a billing account to this project. So I'm going to go ahead and activate this. Okay, so billing is disabled. So I'm going to go ahead and change the billing. And bam. So billing has successfully been enabled for this project. Alright, so let's go ahead and try to make this request again. So if you don't have a billing account, you need to first of all do that. And as soon as you do that, you can be able to receive response from your API request. So when this request is successful, this is exactly what you're going to see. Okay, but we are not interested in all of this, right? So we're not interested in all of this. We only want to retrieve the address component. So if I go to the tree, if I go into the results, the first result, we can be able to access the formatted address. So the formatted address is actually the important information that we want to retrieve from this request. Now all we need to do is to make this request inside our app, and we will deserialize this JSON and just go ahead and pick the formatted address, and that will be it. So now that we've successfully enabled Google Geocoding API and we've already seen how it works and how to implement it, the next thing we need to do will be to return to our project and integrate it appropriately. So this will be all for now. See you in the next class.